Welcome, 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 welcome. Okay. Welcome to Temple Time, Mother Medicine, the Mother code. What is the Mother code, you might be asking? Wow, I am going to share that with you. Let me just make sure we're everywhere we need to be. Alrighty. So, welcome. This morning we are doing a condensed, fairly short, maybe half hour of these mother codes and how it relates to RElevate. So those of you that are coming into RElevate, you will get an aspect of this, and I'll go through it for you. But those of you that aren't, well, why aren't you? So I'm going to put the link in there. We start in February, but I woke up this morning. Well, it's like, often it's like, is it a vision? Is it a dream? Is it a thought? Is it a knowing? You know, all of these sorts of things. I get information constantly. So do you. So do you. You get information constantly, right? We all do, but we like to label it as something. I'm just going to check that we're here. We want to label it as something. It doesn't really matter to me. Label it whatever you like, to some degree. In some programs, we go deeply into where your information is coming from, and you know how to translate that into something that you understand, and so that you can utilize it in your life, because we are getting information constantly. So hi Lisa, I'm just getting you up there so I can see who's here, so you can talk to me. So a little bit different today. So if you're on, say hello so I know who's here, because I haven't talked about this really in this way ever. Not in this way completely. And depending on what the energy is of this call, I've got my trusty whiteboard here. I may draw it for you. Those of you that are in RElevate, you will get this information because it is the infinite R-ing, infinitely R-ing. And so we're starting with the R, RElevate. Yellow, Lisa. We're starting with the R, RElevate. And so there are 8 R's, as in the letter R, that I cover. And in RElevate, we cover 3 to 4 of them. 3 to 4 of them, just depending, right? And so the programs have different stages of development. And, you know, in doing, being, and R-ing, right? Doing, being, and R-ing. Do, be, R. This is the, you know, the frequency or the vibration of how you are into the world, right? Now, that is outside of the mind. It's outside of the mind, which means until you're there, it's really, you can understand the language. However, it's really difficult to understand the meaning. You'll be able to get the doing and the being. You know, it's like, it's a state. It's a state. So infinite R-ing is what we are touching on today. In particular, how the mother code relates all of that. Fear, love, purity of unconditional love. Fear, love, purity of unco love. All right, you with me? You with me? Who's with me? Who's here? All right, because if there's no one here, well, Lisa's still here, but no one's here, it will, determine how deep I go, because this isn't a one that you just sort of come in later and watch. So this is for you, Lisa, because you're the only one I can see right now. Maybe there's other people watching and they're not in the actual chat. So I'm going to touch on this now. Lisa, it's like a one-on-one, right? So we have this. Now I'm gonna touch in on a lot of information that is what is basically what I do. I'm just going to put this link in the chat now so that I don't forget. As a mystic, I've talked and given direct experience of all there is, purity of unconditional love. How you hold it or how you're able to integrate it and work it through is purely up to where you're at, what your ability to, or your container's ability to hold or filtrate information is. Okay, so there's different programs and different ways of knowing dependent on where you're at. So the RElevate, regulate to elevate, is that looking at the fear, why you do what you do, right? What the behavior is telling you, why you can't just will it away. And even the choices you make are not truly free choice. I've been talking about this a lot lately, even this morning, in the bathroom this morning, having a conversation about, this idea of, free choice. And I don't see people having free choice at that level. We make choices based on our experience, what we're encoded, what we know, what our beliefs are, what our meaning making is of those beliefs. So it's not free. It's not expansive. It's not all that you could choose from. All you're choosing from is what you can see in front of you. And if you're in the doing, it's not a lot, right? You are only able to choose by what's in the box. What's outside of the box is not available to you. Even if you have an idea that it might exist, it's not available to you. So that's that. I don't want to, this wasn't on will and choice, but I just wanted to, touch that in, because what I really wanted to talk to you about or share with you is a little bit about how we our map making of how we are put together, right? How we are put together. So I'm gonna rub this out, and I'm gonna draw some geometry. I might use black. I've got a new black marker. Woohoo! The blacks always go first. So we have this triangle, and we have this triangle. Now, within just that alone is like a lifetime of learning, okay? Some of you know it as heaven and earth, right? The triangles of heaven and earth. Some of you also know that it is a grid within the body. And, you know, this density consciousness at the hips and a higher awareness at the shoulders, right? And there are these ways of tracking or moving in life or learning certain things, right? So there's a vortex here, vortex here, vortex here, here and here. Each one of these, and there's multiple others, are something that we are mastering in life to reach ultimately this. I can feel myself going into a full teaching, so I'm going to pull myself back after this, right? To get to this connection here. Now, when we get to here from, you know, trust, working on trust, to truth, right, to love, when all of these, and, you know, generosity, brave heart, whatnot, when this gets activated, we get to a purity of love, or what some people might call unconditional love. I've got my cup out there. I've got my unconditional love cup, but it's not time for a cup of tea yet, so it's out there waiting, right? So you might be asking, well, who cares? Well, why is this important to me? This is you. This is you. This is the human. This is the grid, or one of the grids of the human, these two triangles, right? Now, why am I telling you that? Because I'm getting to the mother code. You won't understand the mother code if I don't give you a little bit of background. As we start learning particular lessons, now you can't learn them through theory. I'll say it again. You cannot learn what I'm telling you through theory, through reading a book. You can read, I can give you a book on this, and you can read it, study it. You know, there'll be some transmission, but to really get it, you have to experience it directly. And the mystic will give you the direct experience. I took somebody through a session, when was it? Yesterday, actually. Is it Tuesday today? Yeah, yesterday, Monday. And it was just beautiful because she went into what's preventing her from moving forward, which, you know, you can't see it because it's unconscious. It's in the sub, it's underneath, and you cannot touch it with thinking. Okay? You have to get it through the body, through to bring up emotion, to bring up the belief and the conditioned pattern where there's a charge, where it's held. Okay? And when you do it in the way that we go through the RElevate program, you feel it, experience it, know it, create connection with it, and then it's befriending it It's not getting rid of it. It's not killing it off. It's a part of you that needs to be acknowledged, integrated in a way that's, I call it like, it's a relationship. It's an intimate relationship with your fear. Now, what is fear? It's whatever's holding you back. I mean, it's much more than that. But if you're saying, you know, I'm going along and I've been doing this work and things just feel like they're getting worse, or, you know, I have all this physical stuff coming up, or I have all this felt sense that just stops me from taking that next step. This is all the charge in the body. It needs to build charge to move through. So I was talking, actually, I was in training for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, an intensive, you know, training anyway. And one of the mentors was asking around, what is everybody's thoughts on, you know, she wasn't talking in charge. She was talking in, when we do a movement consciously connected to the point of reference, right, and we exaggerate it, how does that work for, you know, what's our opinion? And what I teach and how I work with people is exactly what she's saying she doesn't do. And then she's going to do it now, because it's like, I said to her, when we get a physical injury, a cut, you know, a scrape, a burn or whatever, you know, the healing, the mechanism to heal is to build the charge, because there's charge that's lost when there's the injury. And then the body is trying to build the charge naturally, right, to heal us. So when it's emotional or relational, okay, so we're talking on multiple levels, but right now I'm talking of the early experiences of the human, okay, which is this triangle, right? So this is an overlay of the first model. This is the second part of the model that overlays. This is the earth aspect, which means it's the physical. So emotional, beliefs, conditions. Hopefully you can read my crazy writing. And no, you can't, because you can't even see it. There you go. Right? These points are aspects of your experience. So, you know, we can determine the codes for the individual, which will show what's gone on, or illuminate some of the experiences. So there's these codes or these ways of knowing, but there's also where it's more the trauma-based understanding, where I'm evoking from the body, right? So I'm known as the evocateur of soul, right? How do we evoke the soul aspect? We first have to work with the physical, right? Prepare the vessel. So preparing this part, understanding where we've come from, not in depth, just an understanding, okay, there's beliefs and conditionings here that are still, their programs, the data is still running in the background. It's your software. And we have multiple ones for different people, for different times, whatnot. So you might think, oh yeah, this is my issue and I have to work on that. But you'll find once you've done that, some of the others will start coming up. And there's charge held in your system. It's so when you feel what I call a prime or a kindling or a, most people will say a trigger or like someone provokes you, you think, oh, you're being provoked. No, your nervous system is going into, its way of keeping you safe, and it's telling you what's going on. But because we don't understand, majority of people do not understand the language, what it means, how to be that gyroscope or surf, right? The waves of life. It's ignored, it's pushed away, it's what do you call it? It's disrespected, it's spoken atrociously of. If we spoke, or if I spoke to you how majority of you speak about fear, you would just cancel me, cut me off, bad mouth me, or whatever, right? Because most people talk about fear as a problem when it is purely part of the polarity of the infinite and the opposite of love. So at this base level, we need to understand our relationship to love and fear. And most people will not talk about fear as if they talk about love. Without fear, we cannot have this. And many of you are starting with, myself included, this is why I'm teaching this work. I teach you my direct experience. I teach you what I have experienced myself and what I know and what I'm given through the divine, through the Great Mother. This triangle is heaven, or the Father, or the love, or the fire, right? Here we've got the magnetic, water, mother, and go on and on and on, about these triangles, okay? So most of you are on your spiritual journey or wanting to do great things in the world, or maybe you don't. There's another, I'll talk about that later. But when we're on our way, what happens is we want to bypass the fear, earth, our body, our vehicle, what creates the stability, and we want to go to the heavens. Okay. Now, as a mystic, this is really important. And if you are inclined that way, right, we do go direct. We do go direct. We go direct. That's why, my wall is this. That's what I experience. That's what I see. It's what I assist you to access, this gate. This gate. However, if your stability here on Earth, on this planet, the physical is not solid, if you do not have a relationship with your physical, you can't navigate the rest of it very well. Right? You'll start to come up here and you'll just be knocked back down with a physical, like an illness. Might be physical, might be mental, right? Might be mental health, right? You may not be able to navigate what imagery and information you're being given because of the the scaffolding of the journey isn't strong. So I teach in Evolver, Conscious Evolution, about, I'll just see if you can see this, about this infrastructure that is also within the body, okay? So what I'm teaching here or showing you is this, navigating or riding the wave of heaven and earth, love and fear, or fear and then love. The mystics go fear, love, unconditional love, purity of unconditional love, physical, the body, soul to spirit. And many of you have misinformation of going spirit or soul, right? The tip of 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 the soul is in the physical. It is the part in psychology, well, in the modalities that I do, it's sometimes known as the essential self. In intuitive studies, I call it the self and yourself. So, and there's an aspect of levels of that. But it is starting with this physical. So when you're asking, what is RElevate? It is not the theory. It is not the theory. It is the practice and experience of connecting, contacting what it is for you here, to touch into it in particular ways, to build your vessel and have the power and the strength and the solidity to be able to build on that infrastructure. Because you can do it in slightly different ways, but let me tell you, you cannot get through. I heard a business mentor talking about this, identity and how to shift your identity, right? And if you have, so there are three, well, I'm going to talk about 3 ways of knowing in a minute that are based on, well, let me get this screen out of the way. I don't need the restream one anymore. Around, and I noticed Lisa's written a message, so let me just experience the fear. I have experienced the fear to facilitate me in stepping out beyond what I thought I could do. Do you mean you've experienced the fear that's preventing you from stepping out, or you've experienced the fear, it's moved through and now you can step out? Can you just clarify that for me? I think you mean the second one. That's what it feels like, but I was checking. All right. Because I'm not in reading mode right now. I'm in teaching mode. I mean, this is what you want to know what we need to do and what these programs give you, and you have the opportunity. So if you're watching this today, move through. Yeah. Do you know what? So I'm going to pick up on the language, because you're right on one level of the doing into being, but in the R-ing, you can't move through it. You have to discharge the charge so that it becomes you. Your fear is charge that you can withdraw from the the bank of the past, right? And use in the present. You're utilizing, like, your beliefs and conditionings are held in the back, literally in your back. In some aspects, the back chakras hold a lot of information on your past, right? But what I'm talking about is bringing in the trauma-informed knowledge of somatic work, not TRE. It's not TRE, because TRE, so that trauma release one wee shake, that's awesome if that's where your issue is and you release it there. Many of you, from my experience, you do that, but then the emotion comes up and the thoughts come up and the beliefs come up, and you get an opportunity to have a relationship with them. So just doing TRE, because I've had some clients come saying, oh, they do TRE regularly. Great. How's it working for you? Why are you here? So it's not against that. Peter Levine is awesome man and a gem. What I'm saying is it doesn't clear everything for everybody. And you may be doing other stuff and it hasn't cleared. It depends what you're focused on. So yesterday I had a client that I started going into like the mystic, because she's mystically inclined. And I realized because that's what she wanted. But what she needed was to release the charge and have an experience. So here parts of the story, what's going on for her, and I'm tracking her intuitively, and I'm listening to the information that's coming in and whatnot. Now, I could just tell her all of that information, which I did, but that's not going to do anything. That's like doing a reading for somebody. They might feel nice or they might get a bit of an idea or whatever, but it's not really going to shift at that deep level to create the infrastructure where you can build strong, to be, and maybe some of you don't want to be, on that, like to be a mystic, like to hold that of all there is. We need that power. We can't have the charge of the past being stuck in an old pattern. It needs to be released and utilized and brought in. We're not moving through. We're not getting rid of. We're not overcoming fear. We are building a relationship with it so that we can work all the power of ourselves. So I'm getting passionate about this. You can hear me, right? I'm passionate about this. Right. So on these higher levels, we need this infrastructure. These are grids. So some of you will know the grid as this, right? And then there's a central core, right? There's a central core that goes through the body. And that central core, oh, it's a mess. Okay. Let me rub some of this out because I just want to show you a little bit of how this is set up. So this is a bit of, some of you will know or have heard of this, right? So you've got these levels of the core, right? There's all these layers. And that's within the infrastructure of these grids. And then the triangular ones are within that as well. Like we've got, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's higher energy understanding, right? But when we really get into why, when we're hit with something, we can't keep going, or it takes us so long. When, I know this is going to sound crass to some of you, but when people die, we mourn more. How long is long enough? It's different for everybody, right? You can spend the rest of your life feeling for that person, right? But it doesn't mean it has to take you out. Do you see what I mean? Most of you have lost someone or something, like animals. I mean, I'm an animal person, right? And my animals live a long time. I'm talking 20, 30 years. So, since I was a kid, I had a menagerie. I'm a farm girl, right? I grew up, we had 3 different types of bees. We bred bees and sold honey since I was a little tacker, right? Chickens, goats, pigs. We had Inky and Pinky, pink and black pig. We had like lizards. I had llamas. I had llamas in my, just recently. Uh, multiple dogs, like so many dogs. Anyway, a lot of animals. So life and death, right? Blue tongue lizards, mice, guinea pigs. I never got a camel. My whole life, I wanted a camel, my favorite animal. I got llamas instead because they were easier to, they don't break down your fences and stuff. So anyway, when you get hit, when your animals die or your people die or are injured or emotional breakups, whatever, you lose your job, your illness, whatnot, this central core wobbles. For many people who don't have the infrastructure, they will fall. That infrastructure cannot hold it and they will fall. And you will know people, maybe it might even be yourself, where something happens and you just can't get over it. And 9, 10, 11 years later, you're still ruminating about how someone left you or, a death in the or whatever. It's like you can't move through it. This is one reason, because your infrastructure it's flimsy, for want of a better word. And so you fall. And then another thing comes and another thing comes, and you just can't get up. Literally, your core, which is within your system, which connects to heaven and earth, the earth star and the soul star, right? Beyond your body, both ends, is part of you, right? Your soul star and your earth star. Some call it the Taji pole. Lots of different names for it. Doesn't matter, whatever modality, whatever tradition. But this is ancient wisdom, right? With some Cynthiaisms in there, like what's come to me directly, and overlaying and bringing all this together. So this is a big mess, right? It looks like a big mess. So what I'm demonstrating or sharing a little aspect of it, if you don't understand what RElevate is, that's okay. My expertise isn't describing in emails and marketing what I do. I'm a mystic. I'm a creative. I'm a teacher. I'm a spiritual teacher. I'm a spiritual director. Okay? I can give you the direct experience of it and I can talk about this stuff. So that's why I come on here, to not only give you little glimpses and pieces that might help you, right, to understand, but also when I do go into processes that will literally give you an experience. So today it's like just sharing some info that might give you a like, oh, that's what she's on about, or oh, that's what's happening to me. When we do the conscious evolution work, we build this infrastructure so that when shit happens, which it does, when the shift hits the fan, you don't fall to either side. You might wobble, which might take you out for a couple of days, or for me, when I really get hit, sometimes it's like, recently it was only like 15 minutes I was in it. I was like 15 minutes and I was like, okay, right? Because I go deep real quick. I look for, I have that relationship. I do what my body needs and my emotions and all the aspects of myself need to do. And I am it. I don't get stuck. Now, I've been teaching this for probably 10 years, but I've been doing it for longer than that. right? So, you know, I got a pretty strong central core. So that's that bit on it. I'm not going to spend the whole, because I don't want to spend too much more time. I do want to go back into the mother code because I haven't really described it yet. It relates to all of this. So I used to do a show called Mother Medicine, which we talked about all the taboos, all the things people didn't want to talk about, right? And fear is one of them, right? Fear is one of them, or the things that, you know, once we get, and going back to one of the clients I had yesterday, taking her through the process and then asking if she wanted to drop it in deep. And she did. She went there. And the interesting thing for her, because I knew that this is the process, so I know this happens, is that she was able to get to a space where she experienced the divine, right? Her essential self, that core of who she is, that core. So some would say the primary or genuine self, like that aspect of the self, that is, we call it like the primary character, right? And it's based on the present moment contact with self, right? It's developed and it's complete. And it can lead to sort of new tendencies or whatever. But it's like engaging in this relationship, this authentic expression. Okay, this is this center space. So she was able to get there from here. Let me explain it like this. The patterned or habitual self, right? This is patterned or habitual. It's the stuff that you go into over and over again. It's based in the past. It's repetitive. It gives you temporary relief with no resolution. Meaning, so, you know, really joyful people, you know, like waitresses or service people, right? They, you know, there's some that aren't so happy, but there's some, especially if it's a family business or something like that, and you brought up in that service industry. Just as an example, if you watch some people or anybody really, who they show to the world, right, may come from this place of patterning where it's a mask and it's used to manage or distort or block primary emotions. So if it's not acceptable for you to have certain emotions, so ... put in whatever emotion it is for you, then it becomes a habitual pattern, a way of being. And if it goes on long enough, it becomes what people think is your personality. Okay. It can be based on limiting beliefs or trauma. So a limiting belief might be around growing up in a family that, you know, if we upset dad, something's going to happen, or if we upset mum, something's going to happen. So we have to tiptoe around, or we have to be the clown, right? Many of you get through an emotion, like an emotion comes up and you may giggle or smile or laugh or tell a joke, right? Think about that. I was like that. I can remember times when somebody's told me something and I, you know, it was my defense mechanism. I was also a class clown, right? I was always in trouble because I was the class clown. I was always telling jokes or playing pranks or stuff like that. Why? Because I was an extremely traumatized child, right? Not by my mum and dad, you know, but just where I lived. And some of you heard my stories about, you know, being shot at by the drug addicts down the street, walking to the school bus, and all that. So it was always like, you know, are we safe? Just even getting on the bus, like, you know, all those sorts of things. So rather than going in a heap, I went into the clown, the entertainer, the, you know, that was a way that stopped me feeling certain ways, right? Some of you will go into a standoff, close down, so that people are too scared to ask you anything or to go into your emotions, right? So, you know, it gets something that gives you temporary relief, but there's no resolution. This is what I'm talking about. So when you talk about, you know, dealing with something or overcoming something or moving through something, is that actually a resolution, or is it one of these temporary ways to get relief? It's a band-aid rather than a painkiller sort of thing. Like it's a first aid rather than the operation, right? It's not really getting to the core. Okay, this is the core. This is where I'm talking about now, the patterns, the habitual information, okay? It repeats old tendencies over and over and over, and you will not, unless somebody has brought it up over and over, you won't see it. I mean, if I tracked you, I could pick it for you. How you show up to other people may not be who you are. So interesting to me, because when we get to that primary space, we start to see where expression brings relief, where there's freshness and spontaneity, right? Where we can stay in relationship no matter how difficult it is. It's this present moment and contact with ourself, right? And then we have another one, which is more or less trauma based. It's the response to a trauma trigger, right? And we go either hyper aroused or hypo aroused, right? So there's something called a window of tolerance. And when we're inside this window, let's see if you can see that. Or maybe I'll use black. When we're inside this window, we can access all of this information, like all of this, well, not necessarily that, right? But so we can work on a lot of the stuff that I've been talking about. We can really move that through. If we're triggered and we go hyper aroused, then outside the window, or just inside the window of tolerance, it's called. I think that's how you spell it. Tolerance. Depends what country, I guess, you're from. We can't access emotions, beliefs, you know, any of the stuff that I talked about earlier, right? In those other grids, we can't contact that. What has to happen is that needs to be worked through the body. Okay. And then when somebody gets back into that window, we can start to look at where that came from, like what are the beliefs and conditions and whatnot, thoughts and emotions around that, and process fully. right? Or the person will go outside the window downwards. So that's hypo-aroused, hyper and hypo. Okay. So we got fight, flight. We've got the feigned death. We've got there's a whole bunch of Fs. So I just say all the Fs, because there's even the swear word F in there too, because some people, when they get triggered, they get very sexual, right? So, there's another F there for you. So it's all the Fs. So it is based on the trauma, and those emotions are really difficult. You really can't move them through until we get people into that window, right? Where they're more in here and they're able to get the information, because if you're out here in this level, you're surviving, right? And it's lacking relief. There's just, we're basically just trying to regulate, right? And reinstate our defenses, right? So our safety. So this is where we're, dysregulated, and you need somebody else to help you regulate often, right? It's really difficult. Now, if you need somebody to help you regulate, it's possible that in your early childhood, you weren't co-regulated by your primary caregivers. So, I mean, that's maybe I'll talk about that another day. I think I'm gonna leave it at that. Suffice to say, the mother code is bringing all of that and more together, because when we bring these two triangles, so right, as we so Dan Winter talks about the two pine cones kissing, right? And there's a charge when they come together. And it's basically your spiritual journey. We have to, well, it's not even a spiritual journey. It just is the human evolution from Homo sapien to Homo spiritus, right? Where these parts of, remember the heaven and earth triangles in our system, there's a part where they get activated and the two triangles start to come together, right? So they're coming together and they get to this space where they are the star, right? Now, this star, remember, holds all your physical human aspects, and the other one holds all the spiritual aspects, or vice versa. You get what I mean. And so when we bring in the coding for that, there is certain codes for each individual, and we can read those to determine what happened to you in early, generally in early, whether you experience but I'm just going to say the basic conditions and beliefs start to come up in that, right? And then with the spiritual aspects, we can see what of the physical aspects need to be looked at, because for these ones to expand and grow and for you to be in your strong core, we have to have worked these underlying ones, right? So in simple terms, our physical, right, our physical aspects, so that we, merging into the energetic, merging into the soul, merging into connection with spirit, which is the soul, mother code stuff, right? So those of you that are doing RElevate, I'm gonna and do your code for you so that you can see as we go through the program, you can look at those codes and that information and see how that is in your body. And maybe I won't give it to you straight up so that you can, we don't want to right? But so that you can cross-correlate information, right? Cross-correlate the information. So I hope that was helpful. It gave you food for thought. It's definitely not something that listening to this is going to shift it for you. This was purely a mini teaching on, not even going into any one aspect of, the information. But with the RElevate program, we start looking at your beliefs and conditionings, how you are, how your physical is, how it's impacted by how you think, how you feel, what you know, what the conditions are, and ways to literally do it. I'm mentoring you for that release, for that aha, for that charge to be released to the degree it can in a small group. So we've got a lovely small group. There is room for you if you would like to come. It will be running, and it starts February. So I've popped in let me see if I can get the other. So are there any questions while I'm doing this? I'm just going to see if I can put the link in the chat. I'm not sure if the program here is working properly, but let me see. I put it in there. We'll see. Let me see if it came up. I can't see it. So I'll put it in after the live. If you want to join us, or if you've got questions, or if you want a one-to-one on this, I can take you through one-to-one. To do your code, your system, takes much more than one session. But if you want to just drop in, have a session and drop in to what it is that is coming up for you, and I can refine that for you to see how it moves through. That through, because I'll finish with this, because I've peppered it through the whole session today, or the whole teaching today, is that so the client yesterday, one of the clients yesterday, she finished with having this experience of being so expanded, and in that she said it's the mother is here, and that's how she was experiencing her core. And we had worked from the space of all this conditioning and beliefs until she could see, oh, I'm seeing myself expressed in these other people. And this is what I need to work on. We dropped it in the body, and it released its charge, and she was able to get to this purity of unconditional love. Now, within that, the beauty here, because that's not unusual, that happens all the time, that's just how we work, right? I give you that connection to the beloved, right? Or guide you to that. What she felt, which was unusual for her, was that she felt the fear within it. And she was in awe. Hear that? She was in that place where love and fear on this real human level had come together to unconditional love, or that purity of love, the purity of all of that. And within that is the love, and within that is the fear. There's nothing to fear of this process. My job here, and I've taken on the job, right? I've said, yes, okay. At times I think, oh, what am I doing? Because people don't want to work on, people are scared to touch into the body. I talked about that on one of the challenge. What's the fear of having a more intimate connection with the body? There's huge fears. Think about that. But the biggest fear of all, if I was to, tell you, is the fear of not doing it. Because by not doing it, not touching in, it just repeats and recycles and comes back in another way, right? To feel fear in the body is just an expression of an experience. It's no thing. To experience love is the same thing, just of a different aspect of the nervous system. It's love and fear, and it moves through the energies, through the ether, through into us, and our nervous system goes, oh, there's some information, oh, there's some information, and we have a felt sense, or we filtrate that information through our sensory system. And the more that you're evolving, the more that you do that, and so the more important it is for you to understand what I just said, or at least have a grasp that to continue going through life, moving away from fear, or trying not to experience it, is actually stopping you from the bigger picture. Okay. So if you would like to join us in RElevate, the 60% offer finished last night. It finished last night. I haven't taken it down yet, and I'm traveling tomorrow early in the morning. So if you get in today, I will honor that 60%. I'm taking it down before I leave for the airport, and that's it. That's it. So some of you only got my email late last night because I was busy, so I didn't send it out till late. So you would have only got it in the morning. So that's why I'm doing that. But this is the last day. This is the last day for that 60%. If you want to come and experience this, not do the theory, experience it, come to RElevate and start your journey with your physical, right? And start to dance and move with that fear of fear and fear of love. Because love and fear on their own is purely just how it is. It just is. Right? When you make meaning from your beliefs and conditioning and how you are encoded in your life, right? And how you moved from your primary way of being, that inner circle, to a habitual way of being that was conditioned through society or through your direct experiences in life to be a certain way, right? Some of you have had horrific trauma and terror out into those outer circles, okay? So if you want to just, in a safe space where we work through this over the 6 months, right? And when you are discharging like that and you're held in a container of high frequency, right? It will start to move. It moves quick. But you cannot think it away. Cannot think it away. You cannot will it away. You cannot discipline it away. You could say, every day I'm going to do this. So we can and I do share that, if you choose a mantra, right? So if you're subliminally giving yourself information through a mantra or a chant or a song that's inspiring, whatever, then the world is less likely to give you one, right? So you take in that space. But it's not going to change the core. It's not going to change that. All right. I love you and leave you. I'm going to go and have my cup of tea now. And you've got the page. Actually, I'll put the code in. Well, I'll just tell you, the code is REL60. REL60. And today is the last day. So if you see the replay on this tomorrow, it's gone. Right. But you'll still be able to come in the program. You just won't be able to come. Like, the program will be selling until it starts. Right. And if we get too many people, we'll have 2 groups. We do have a European. We already have 2 groups, to tell you the truth. We have a European time slot, and we have a afternoon. We have a morning and an afternoon time slot, right? My time. So it covers most countries. So the Friday and the Saturday. Okay. But we will be keeping the classes fairly small, so I can mentor and monitor and make sure that you get those. If you want a one-to-one, contact me, DM me on whatever you're watching, and I can tell you how that will look. I won't be available over the next 4 days. Well, actually, I will. I'll be in Las Vegas, but I will still get my emails and whatnot. So, okay, Lisa. So if you don't, if you have any questions, Lisa, just message me and we can work it out. If you're confused or something doesn't quite work or whatever, I'm happy to explain it, because sometimes there's a lot of information and it can get lost. So I've popped in is it in, I can't see the link in there in the platform you're in, Lisa. Let me just see if I can pop it in for you while. It's this one. So it's REL60. And I'm just putting it in the Rhombus Healing Arts. And if you're watching it on one of the other platforms, I'll pop the code in, but it's, let me see. I'll just spend a minute doing that. I did put it in the restream, but it doesn't look like it's come through, so it should have. But I don't know. I've got to love technology. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and it's okay. Hey, Alexa. All right, so if you're interested in that, it is, oh, good, REL60, and that's for the 60% off. And that 60% off will be, so you can either pay it as a one-off payment, or you can pay it, I think it's over the months. I think it's every month, right? So to be held at that price. So if you don't get in on that 60%, then you'll be paying so when you open the link, it'll show you the current price, which still isn't even full price, but I've taken 60% even off that offer, right? Today's the last day, and I won't be doing any more lives. So this is the last live until I get back. I might do lives from, Vegas in what I'm doing, because I'm not there for a holiday. I am working. But I'll be, for 2 days, I'll be training. So it won't be till the Saturday, maybe. So I'll be back doing regular lives like this, like teaching and sharing the following week. Okay. But I'll be around. So if you want any other information, just DM me or send me a message, and I shall be happy to answer your questions, or if you're not sure how it works. The classes are recorded, and there's two, like there's a morning and an afternoon one. So a Friday afternoon and a Saturday morning, but it may be, that's for me. I'm in Hawaii though, right? So the timings may be completely different. Actually, I've got timings here somewhere. So to be Friday 4:30 PST and Saturday 11 a.m. PST, which is 2:30 Hawaii time, and Saturday it's 9 a.m. Hawaii time, right? And that would be Sunday for Australia. So it just depends what time zone you're in. And so we've got Friday and Saturdays. And if you're in Australia, it'll be Saturday and Sunday. So that gets confusing, so I don't really go into that. But if you're not sure, send me a message, DM me, or, on these lives, send me a message, because I do go back and check. If you don't hear from me, send me another one. It may be that, it gets lost, or I can't see it for whatever reason. And I will get back to you and make it happen for you if you really want to be involved. We've got a beautiful group. We've got some awesome people in this group. So I'm really excited to get started with them. All right. Are we complete? Do you feel complete? So there you go. I went for an hour. I said half an hour, but I can't even say my name in half an hour. So, we got on a roll with the teaching. Yeah, see, I get the whiteboard out and I'm gone. I'm just like in it. All right. So we'll end on that. Much love. Thanks for showing up, and I hope this was helpful in some way. But truly, the real help is actually doing the work and having that relationship with the body in that intimate way of moving through the information in a way that you get you are able to hear and see and sense and know the information the body is telling you. It's doing its best to heal you. And sometimes it needs a little help, because once we make it conscious, our nervous system, our brain works in a particular way. So the brain is part of the nervous system, right? And it works in a particular way to integrate the information. But until we're conscious and doing the work, it cannot integrate it, because it gets turned off by the stress response neurochemical cascade. Okay. So it's just really difficult to do any other way. So I've provided this program specifically for this, because that's what I'm seeing in the world, and I'm you know, I'm professionally qualified to run this program, to do the trauma work and the relational work, the attachment work, right? But also the spiritual aspects of it. So you'll be held and be a safe, secure container for you to touch in. All right, on that note, may the blessings be, and I'll see you very soon. Okay, much love. Thanks, Lisa. Thanks for